I'm Christy Broy, and I'm here with Val Lucas from Bowerbox Press. Hi, Val.
Hi, Christy. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. We're so excited to have you be part of the 5th annual Amuse Art Fair and the first ever Amuse at Home. So thank you for being part of it. Let's have a little chat to let everybody at home get to know you and what you do a little bit better. And let's start out with just talking about what is it that you do? What do you make?
Yeah, so I make a lot of different things, but I specialize in letterpress printing and woodcuts. So I'm working on old equipment with traditional techniques, doing hand-carved woodcuts, using some old wood type and metal type that goes on the machines, and then I'm printing my own artwork, doing some bookbinding, so small books and pamphlets, and then I also do custom printing for people.
Ooh, so you do a wide variety of things using those old presses. Now, where do you work? Where's your studio?
I am about half an hour north of Baltimore in Maryland, and this is the location of my studio. This is the view out my window. So my equipment is located in a little barn outside my house. So I've been collecting all of the old presses, and they're all in the barn. This is my little cozy work area. I'm surrounded by rural fields, which give me a lot of inspiration for my work. So I am in here, I'm printing, I'm carving, I'm folding cards, I'm packaging. Sometimes I'm in here on the computer, but most of the time I'm working on the presses. I have everything I need right here in this little space, and it's definitely my happy place.
So you spend a lot of time there.
Yep.
Yeah, so you've probably been spending a lot more time there lately than you normally do with the pandemic. Has that affected what you're making at all?
Yeah, so I definitely have been in the shop a lot. I'm really lucky that I have my shop at my home, so I wasn't affected by the shutdown necessarily. I was still able to come to my studio. And I actually connected with some local businesses in Baltimore and created this poster. So this is printed from wood type with some metal type and a pressure print for the image. And we printed 500 of these posters. I worked with a shop down in Baltimore called Indigo Physiotherapy, and we distributed these for free to businesses all over Baltimore just to kind of support small businesses, because I know a lot of people were struggling. As I said, I'm lucky enough to have my own stuff at my house so that I could keep working, but we really wanted to make sure that all of the small businesses in Baltimore kind of felt the love. So those posters were distributed to small businesses all over town.
That's really great. Is that something that was really important to you, to just do something, anything you could? Is that something you're going to keep doing, or was it just like an instant reaction to the pandemic?
That one was pretty much a kind of like instant reaction, but I am definitely making more work that's inspired by what's going on. Trying to both keep positive, but also push for positive change. So I am working on some new posters inspired by how we need to kind of move forward in something better and not go back to normal. So I have some posters that I'm working on with that, and I do want to do some more collaborations with other local businesses as well.
Cool. And we were speaking about where your studio is, that where you're spending more of your time. Is the area around it, the setting, does that have a lot to do with I noticed that you've been doing some prints that are very nature related.
Yeah, so I'm really inspired by the natural world, and I love that I can just look out my window and I see this gorgeous farm landscape. There's a lot of parks nearby, so I'm always out in the woods, kind of getting inspiration from nature. And one of my other passions is mushroom hunting. So this is a reduction woodcut print that's 9 colors, and all of these layers are carved from one single wood block that's printed multiple times. So I'm really inspired by all these gorgeous forms in nature. I get to go out into the woods and actually find beautiful things to kind of create new work from. So that's really a big part of why I chose to live up here, is that I'm connected to that natural landscape. But I'm still close enough to the city, and I can connect with all of the wonderful small businesses. But I'm able to come back up here and just go for a walk in the woods.
Sounds pretty perfect. Pretty good situation. So if all of that is in one wood block, you're telling me that you line it up that perfectly every time you're printing the colors. That makes me so nervous. I am very impressed because that
Yeah,
was
luckily the
flawless print.
press does all that for me.
It's so great though. I mean, that's a big accomplishment, and it's great working with the machine together to create something like that. It's really cool. It's almost like you have a partner, like a nice dualistic nature to working with your materials. So here's another question. We're talking a little bit about your process. Is there anything about your process that you'd like to share with everybody? Is there anything with the way that you do achieve those prints that might be interesting?
Yeah, so a lot of my prints, the woodcuts in particular, they start with just a block of wood, and I'm carving my image into it. So everything that is raised up, that's the original surface of the block, is what prints. And for a simple one color print, it's as easy as drawing right on the block and carving out everything that stays white. And then this block is mounted up to the correct height for a letterpress, and it goes in the press, and I can run it hundreds of times once it's set up, you know, in an hour. So I can create multiple prints of this really quickly with the equipment here. And it's really great for the reduction cuts because I can kind of set everything in the press, print my first color, take the block out and recarve it and put it back exactly in the press to print the next color. So I've really been exploring kind of the fine registration that I can get with those reduction cuts. And it's also great to be able to add the text afterwards. So sometimes I'm carving the text. For example, in this print, this text is actually carved in the woodblock itself.
Okay.
But then other times I'm using the actual wood blocks and metal text to imprint the text afterwards. So it kind of depends
more lining up everything perfectly and getting it all exactly the way you need.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah, that is a lot. As someone who doesn't work with those exact sort of measures, it's very, very impressive. I do love it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about what you make and where you make it and how you do that. Let's talk a little bit about just some personal things. When you are, say, in an artistic rut, what do you do to get yourself out of that? How do you get out of a funk when you can't think of something to make or you're just not in the mood?
First thing is I'll go for a hike. I go out to the woods and kind of take a walk through the forest, and usually that helps clear my head, inspire me to start something new or to get back to something I was working on. The other thing that sometimes helps is to clean a piece of equipment. So I have all these antique presses, and a big part of what I love is also restoring them. So if I'm really stuck on something and just kind of need to do something physical, I can kind of scrub away at a rusty piece of cast iron and try to bring it back to life. And a lot of times that'll kind of get me out of whatever brain space I was stuck in.
It gets you excited about what you can make with it, maybe? You start to have ideas?
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's really neat. All right. Do you have any sort of maybe dream project, if there was something that you could work on or something that maybe you don't have the time for, if you started and you haven't finished, what's a dream project you might have?
I would really like to restore the second floor of the studio space so that I have some more room, mostly for some lighter bookbinding equipment. These big pieces of cast iron would never fit on the second floor, but renovating the rest of the studio is definitely a dream project.
Do you have a shop there in the studio space? Do people come to it? Not maybe now, but in the normal times?
I'm not super set up for a retail shop. There's just not enough space. The bottom floor of the barn is about 14 by 20 feet. So it's really only 300 square feet or so. I have had people come in for either one-on-one workshops. People can come in and kind of use the press if I'm working with a project with them. And I've had some people come in for an open studio. So I'm hoping that once we're able to kind of go place.
You've frozen. Can you hear me, Val? Can you hear me, Val? Val? you are again. Sorry.
All right, we're back.
Okay, there you are. Yes. Let's see. It is recording still. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I think I left. I don't think you left. I think you stayed there. So
Okay.
I don't know how much it recorded on your end. Where I stopped hearing you was you said you were talking about maybe when people can come. So,
Yeah, so when people can move around again in the future, I would love to have more open studios so people can come in and see a little bit of my process. And I'm looking forward to getting back to doing in-person craft fairs too.
oh yeah, that's really good. I think when people can see what you're doing and get a feel for the work behind it, it really clicks a little bit more in their head. Sometimes, I mean, the final project is so beautiful, but it doesn't always tell the whole story unless you are shown the story. So I think that's really cool. So maybe if you get that upstairs renovated, maybe you can do that.
Someday, yeah.
Yes. All right. Here's a little bit of a silly question, but I think it's pretty telling how you answer it. Let's see. If you had a time machine, where would you go?
I think I would go back to the 1450s and see Johannes Gutenberg printing on his first printing press and producing that amazing Bible. See how the first printers really did it and see how much it's changed since then.
That is a very fitting choice. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that would be a really cool experience. All right, well, what can viewers and those who are going to enjoy Amuse at home, what can they expect to see from you at Amuse?
Yeah, so I will have a range of my woodcut prints. So there's a lot of the kind of mushroom themed prints. I have some more landscapes inspired by my surroundings here. I will have some greeting cards, some coasters and other home goods. And I'll also have pre-orders for my calendar. I also do watercolors. So there we go. So I'll have my 2021 watercolor bird calendar available for pre-order. So this is a little bit different. It's not letterpress, but it's kind of inspired by, again, my natural surroundings and all the different birds that I love seeing around.
Yeah, I saw those on your website. They're beautiful. Really, really well done.
Yeah, so I'll have those for pre-order as well as all of my letterpress printed and woodcut goods.
Awesome. Okay, well, last but not least, let's tell everybody at home where they can find out more about you if they're interested.
Yeah, so my stuff is online at bowerbox.com, and my Instagram is probably the best place to find me. I'm at Bowerbox, and you can see a lot of behind the scenes. I'll have videos of the presses running, videos of carving, and some kind of close-up and detail shots of my process.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm really excited that you're going to be part of Amuse this year. I can't wait to see what everybody's bringing. And it was really nice to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Val.